Hello again. So I hope you had a good lunch. And I'm going to wait for a few more people to come online before I say what I forgot to say in the first part of the live. But anyway, for the next part, I already conditioned the translucent. But for the next part, to make the cane look even prettier, what we are going to do will be yet another Skinner blend. And hello again, Deborah. And in order to do that other, bonjour, Elisabeth, bonjour encore. And to do that other Skinner blend, what we need is translucent. As you can see, I forgot to mention, as you can see, the female translucent is also white, the same as the Pardo and Cernitar. So what we need is to do a little bit of a shadow. And in order to do that, you get pretty much, you know how I measure with the squares? So pretty much for a square of translucent on the thickest setting, you use this much black. And out of that, after you mix it, so you can imagine if you want to make less, you get half a square and then about the size of a millet seed black. After you mix that, you take about half of that mix and you mix it again with translucent equal parts, and you get this. And you keep that half because you're going to need it. So let me say real quick in French. Donc, pour l'étape suivante, on va essayer de faire un peu plus de troisième dimension dans notre canne. Et pour ça, on va utiliser un peu de noir dans le translucide. Mais on va faire, vous savez, comme je mesure toujours avec mon petit emporte-pièce carré. Et avec la pâte sur la plus épaisse, dans la map, vous devez prendre environ une petite boule de noir environ si grande. Et si vous faites seulement une moitié du carré, donc ça serait, j'espère que je me rappelle bien comment ça se prononce, de millet, comme une petite graine de millet ou de suçon. Et ensuite, après que vous mélangez ça, vous prenez la moitié et la mélangez avec la même quantité de translucide. Et on va faire une autre dégradé. Donc, ici, j'ai environ 1,5 carré de la translucide sur la plus grosse épaisseur. Et je vais mettre la plus claire le plus clair des mélanges avec le noir, et sur le bord, je vais mettre le mélange qui est plus foncé. So, I am going to place, this is about a square and a half of translucent. Then I'm going to place the lighter mix of black with translucent, and then what's left of the darker one. So let's do that gradient. And what I wanted to say before, I forgot to say, before placing this, if you want to make just the flower, not as a cane, just the flower itself, then this is what you use for the petals. It's very easy, but you don't have to add these. These are just to make the cane look more realistic. Hello again, Carol. So let's do this gradient as well. And in this one, if you remember from my faux malachite tutorial, it's how to flatten a gradient, a Skinner blend, and make it into a sheet with one side of the sheet darker and the other side of the sheet lighter. So this is what we are going to do with this. So let me do, I didn't do it ahead of time because I had to show you how to do these gradients. Almost done. The last pass. I got a long ruffle. Okay. Hello, bonjour, Sophie. Hi again, Julia. So we are going to do this in a flattened gradient. So I'm going to fan it. And in this, because remember when I told you, whenever you do something that is stacked, be careful and always turn it, flip it around, because always the whatever's on top will have the tendency to get flatter and cover a bigger area than whatever's on the bottom. Well, in this case, we want that pretty much. So we have this, right? And we have the darkest here. And what we said, we are going to make the cane about 1 inch tall. Now remember, whenever you make a cane, no matter how much you're going to reduce it, this is how it's going to end up. Whenever you reduce this and then you put the petals together, this is how it's going to end up. So I am going to get this flattened like this. So that way we will have a sheet that's going to have a very faint black tinged, gray tinged, translucent on one side. Hello, Iman. So let's go ahead and again, I'm going to say for the ones of you who are not here in the beginning, if you want to make just the flower, you know, as in sculpted flower, you use this cane the way it was before I put the little shadowy 3D things. So now let's go ahead. How do we reduce? First of all, we want to make sure that we got out all the air pockets, bubbles, whatever. So grab it right in the middle. right here and squeeze a little bit, not a lot, just a little bit, and then move your fingers towards the ends, just a little bit, because that's what you want. And you want to make that clay that's right in the middle move, so it won't stay behind here. And remember what I told you before, you can always get the clay back where it belongs with your acrylic block. But, and this is something I showed before, the way that you reduce it, you use your hands, only this part. Press gently, lift, turn. Press gently, lift, turn, about a quarter turn. And after you do this about 10 times, you flip it over. Because you'll have the tendency, and that's how the human hands are shaped, the top will be a little bit narrower than the bottom. So obviously you need to flip it around so you'll have it perfectly cylindrical. Hello again, Jennifer. And see, we don't have a lot of clay staying behind it, but what you need to do is to have it well against your working tile. Why is my camera messed up? And this is how we reduce it. Now, of course, we need to reduce it in a fairly strict manner. I mean, a lot, if we want to get the log to be able to be cut in 5. Because remember, we said about 1 inch height of the cane. So we will have to have this 5 inches long. It doesn't take long. And but I told you it's a good idea after you put your cane together to let it rest a little bit. I usually let it rest about an hour. And especially if it's a softer clay like Premo or Soufflé, because otherwise it will start deforming. Now, one thing that is very important when you do this move, be sure that when you turn the cane, you have already lifted it from the tile, because if you turn it while it's still on the tile, some of the clay is a little bit attached, so you'll end up with a twisted cane. So press, lift, turn, put down. Press, lift, turn, put down. I actually practically drop it. I don't put it down. Because as I said, if you don't lift it when you turn, you'll end up with a very twisted cane. And twisted is physically twisted, not crazy. But thank you. So we are already at, and I didn't get under the table yet to get my ruler. So we are at, let me see, how much was this? This was about 1.25 inches. So we are at almost 2 inches. Hello again, Chris. Let me say real quick in French. Donc, quand vous réduisez la canne, c'est très important. Vous voyez comme je fais, je pousse, je soulève, je le tourne environ un quart de cercle et ensuite je répète. Mais vous devrez être sûr que votre canne est soulevée et n'est pas sur la table quand vous la tournez, parce que sinon, vous allez finir avec une canne qui est, je ne sais pas comment on dit ça. Thank you, Carol. And of course, this one being Fimo, it takes just a pinch longer than a softer clay. but we don't want to hurry. We want to do a good job, right? And yes, if it gets too, see what I was telling you about why you have to turn it to flip it around. See how here it's a little bit thinner than here, because the way that you put your hands, see, this part will not be on the same vertical plane as the top. So you want to flip it around to make sure that you do a good job. Can you already start rolling it? Yeah, but I prefer to go pretty much like this, because this ensures that the clay in the middle is also being moved. Of course, I won't be able to do it all over. And actually, I think we are going to use the deformed ends to make a flower. What about that? Yeah, my famous micro canes. But yeah, I'm going to try and finish the other tutorial at least, and so I can post it tomorrow on YouTube. And as I said, that other one I will have to remake, unfortunately, because I don't know. It's going to be faster to remake it, because I don't know how long it's going to take. Because think about it, I'm going to, and yeah, I did put it on the wish list, but I just didn't want to lose it. I found a pretty good, decent price for the specs hard drive on Amazon that I'm going to get, and hopefully it will be here Monday. So Monday afternoon, I'm going to try and install it myself. If I can't, I'll have to take it to the Computer Geeks, not the Best Buy ones, no worries. Those are, the prices are horrendous. But to my other guys who are here close to me. And then I'm going to have to ask them to see if they can, what they can recover from the old hard drive. Because hopefully, the good part is that I pretty much got everything in on my Google Drive and on some drives and an external hard drive that I had. So, you know, I mean, software can be reinstalled. My main worry would have been with the, you know, videos that I was working on, but I have the good habit, everything that is very important, as soon as it's done, it's uploaded online. And yeah, some of them are actually uploaded on my website, not on my website, but in the server. So remember that I have unlimited storage there as well. So my most important things are either in my Google Drive or on the server. Of course, they are not accessible through the website. Well, if you go on my website, Iman, there's a whole section on the website that's just for beginners. And also on my YouTube channel, if you go on the tab that says, you know how you have there home, uploads, playlist. If you go on the playlists, there's a playlist that's with all the basic techniques. And then there are some beginner canes. And also on the website, there are beginner canes. See, this is what, again, it can twist when you're doing this. So make sure that you don't have it twisted. And we want it fairly equal. Let's see. 5. So I need 1 1/4 more. Oh yeah, you can. They are recorded, Julie. It's exactly like on YouTube. And I chose to have them recorded, so you can come later and just, you know, look in the videos on the page and you'll find them. Now see here, I start getting, because the clay is not butted against the table, I start getting a little bit of stay behind. But as I said, we'll just make a flower or two with the ends, just so I can show you how easy it is to make a plumeria. And plumerias are, as I said, relatively easy. And I know that one time I had made this very nice tutorial with earrings with some plumerias, and they were pretty, but when I was finishing them and I started drilling the holes to put the ear wires, to connect them to the ear wires, my hand twitched and I broke the end of one. That's like, I'm not going to start right now again to... Okay, I should be good now. I'm gonna have to get under the table just a minute. There we go. Sorry, but I dropped my my bigger ruler last evening. Okay, now let's cut the ends where we have clay deformation. And I know it's not a lot of clay deformation, but let me see. Actually, let me go just a little bit longer to make sure that I have exactly how much I need. Thank you. I am glad. That's why the videos are out there. Okay, now before anything else, if anyone got subscribed for membership on the website, I didn't have time to look through them. So if you didn't get the email with the, whatchamacallit, the activation link, you'll have to wait until after the live for me to go in and activate your account. Because unless your account is activated, you will not be able to log in. Okay. So this is one. Just one. Okay, we are good. Now do I have 6 1/4? So we need 5 pieces of 1 1/4 each. So let's go ahead and start cutting. So 1 1/4. And because I don't want to waste time calculating, I'm just going to move it. Okay. And yes, I move it like this so it doesn't get flat. Yes, hopefully. Good job, Tia Lisa. Now, remember what I said, don't throw these away because we are going to use them. we will need just a little bit of a middle for our cane, but the middle has to be very, 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 very tiny. Really, 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 really tiny. And I'm going to grab some of this gray here. And just wrap it in some of this. Wrap that tiny middle in some of this. I need to clean my tile again. I worked with something that made it very sticky, and with all the stuff going on this morning, I didn't get around to clean it properly. And again, it has to be very, 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 very thin. Now, remember that we have to flatten one of the sides a little bit. And I'm going to use you can use whatever you want. You know, I'm going to try the how are they called? These cane benders. So I'm going to do a little bit of cane bending, because remember, we did this part that's supposed to show some 3D. And actually, I'm going to first place it and squish. And the thing is that the petal itself has to be a little bit longish, not perfectly round. So let's shape it a little bit ovaloid. Is there such a thing as ovaloid? And then this part has to be a little bit in. Now try not to deform the rest of the petal. And we do the same for all of them. So this is how they are supposed to look like. This is how they are supposed to look like. Come on. See, this part has to be a little bit inside. So let's do the same. You have the middle right here. So first gently pinch here, and then gently pinch on the opposite side and flatten it just a little bit, not a lot. So it would be an ovoid. And then press it against, and you can press it against the table, you can press it against the handle of a paintbrush if you want. The thing is that you need to make a little dent there, a little groove that runs all the way. And actually this one is not thick enough. Let me get this one. The groove is too small. So yeah, pretty much like this. So pinch on the inner end of the petal, pinch on the tip of the petal, flatten a bit, and then indent. And we got two more. Pinch, flatten, Verify the pinches and indent. So you see how I press both here, and that way I'm not deforming the wrist. Just pressing down on the cane bender. And as I said, you can use something else instead of a cane bender. And the last one. They'll see, probably I will download these and upload them on YouTube as well. There we go. And now we can start putting it together. Let's see if this one is not, it might be still too thick. So let's start putting them together. Remember, one has to come. I see this one is not pinched enough here. So, like this. And make sure they are on both sides the same. Remember, always when you put together a cane, you want to check both the front and the end. Okay, still not long enough. Where is it? So put together, now they fit together perfectly. The next one. And now it's about the time that we want to put our little middle thing there. And then let's grab the next one. And again, set it in the, but to give you just a little tip, at this point, you don't want to continue like this. You got 3 of them. You got the next one perfectly matched in size. Now get the remaining 2 together. And this one needs to be extended just a little bit longer. And let's make sure the indent here is good. And the tip is not messed up. And we'll put together these, because it's going to be much easier to put this in than to try to get one to fit. Okay, what did I do? I didn't do anything. This one's indent is not good. Didn't look like an indent. Okay, so again, put it here, place your little middle, and then fit the other 2 perfectly. Now we got them puzzled together. Now let's work on the thing that's going to make them better. Hello, Laura. Show much better than just simply, because remember, we do have translucent that will become translucent once it's baked and cooled. So let's work on thinning this out. Goodness, what's wrong with my table? Oh. And we are going to flatten it until it can go through the pasta machine on the thickest setting. Just keep working on it. And the same as before, flip it over often so you'll get both sides nicely extended, and don't let it become too wide. Okay, now I think it can go through the pasta machine. It should be okay. So on the thickest setting for now. And then you can turn it 2 settings down. There we go. Now, watch this. What we want is to have a pretty much a shade, but remember, generally speaking, when the light comes on, it's like more from one side. So you have to decide which of the sides will be in the so-called shade. So let's say that the sun goes on the flower from this direction, so this area, these petals will cast some shade. So let's put, because if it comes from the direction of this petal, let's say, or it's better to put it from in between petals. Let's say the sun comes from this direction between these 2 petals. That means that pretty much most of the end of this petal will cast a little bit of shade, right? So we are going to do it pretty much from here, and because I want it to fit nicely, I'm going to do a diagonal cut, then always with the darker part towards the petal, right? And you start at the middle of the, what you can see from the petal, and that it would come all the way to here. Make your notch and then cut it again in a little bit of a diagonal. And then place it on your petal. So from the middle, okay, sorry, from the middle on one side, go around nicely so you don't trap air, and place it all around prettily. Now this one will cast a shade, trying to find it. So this one casts a shade like this. This one will cast a shade pretty much up to here, right? So again, we already have a nice edge, but let's do a diagonal. So this one will come from here to right after the tip of the petal, so to here. Sorry. So again, a little diagonal cut. So when you do the diagonal, you do the diagonal so the dark part is the longest. So place it here at the junction of the 2 petals, then gently bend it and bring it over the tip of the petal. And then here it will only give a shade just in this area. So pretty much about half of what is seen here of the petal. So again, a little diagonal cut, and we can already tell about how much it is there, so I don't need to really measure. I'll place it in. Remember, always check both sides of the cane. Place it in and then gently press it over. And we'll do the same on this one and on this one. So, because this one will be this one will be this one. So, a little diagonal cut, measure up to here. You got your little notch, another little diagonal cut. So place it, gently fold it, and there we go. And now just this one is left. So little diagonal cut and little diagonal cut. Oops, sorry, I didn't mean to do that. Is this better? Is it better like this? If I don't turn on the light. Now you want to get your blade, and with the dull edge, just make sure that those went all the way in the joint between the petals. And that they are well stuck on the other end. So we have pretty much this, where the sun coming from this area of the flower, like this. Now we need to fill all these in, and these will be filled with translucent, obviously. So I hope I have enough translucent. Just as a side note. Just, okay, this is too wide. Still too wide. What the heck am I doing? So now you just start filling in. And it's okay. Remember when I showed you that whenever you wrap in translucent, the best thing is to just wrap everything, because it's very easy to trim out the excess. As long as you fill up everything, you can trim out the excess very easily. Now, we might want to do some triangles if you absolutely want, but we don't have to. Let's go the other way this time. Just cut a little bit below the tip of the petal, so you don't add more on the very top. Okay, I'm sorry, I don't see. Okay, and then this, and then this, and then this. Yes, I know. Theoretically, you have the tendency to make little triangles, but I found, for me at least, it's easier to just do it this way because I don't have to worry about measuring and cutting at an angle and all that. I just cut on the side here. And now I go one like this, one like this. And I have itty bitty triangles. And if I put them properly in place, it might even help. No, I didn't put a translucent thing here. Sorry. Can you see? Bonsoir, Dominique. Yeah, c'est ce que c'est. C'est une canne de fleurs de frangipani. Et je vais montrer comment faire la fleur aussi, avec les restes que j'ai de la canne. To make sure that the areas between the petals are well covered. Now let's do these back through the pasta machine and a little bit thinner. Merci, Dominique. Merci beaucoup. Is this thin enough? I think it is. Okay. Now simply let's add a little bit where we still have some insets. So this one is a little bit in. I know I am so not dogmatic and not cutting everything perfect. Hello, Donna. And is there any more? Let's put some here and some here. So some here. The word I was looking for is unconventional. There. And wherever you see any little nooks and crannies, just get some sausages in there. Okay, and now I'll get all this and get them in an even thinner sheet to wrap everything around. Yeah, I need it a little bit thinner than this. Okay, so all that's left is to just nicely wrap everything. Oh, no, that's a red. We don't need that's a red. Oh, come on, stand still. There we go. Let me get this out of the way, and then we can just get it together, and then after that, once it's cooling off, we'll make a little flower. And again, the same as for the initial log, first press in the middle and then gently come towards the ends. Don't press too hard. You don't want to deform it. And do the same on the other side. I am just amazed that I can still work with canes with the way my hands are. And then we shall do the exact same thing as we did for the log. Turn around. I'm not going to reduce it too much. I'm going to cut a piece to reduce some. No, I used Fimo. The first part is already recorded. You can watch it. It's on the page. And you can watch it with no problems. I'm using the Fimo Professional, white, yellow, a little touch of red, and just a little grain of black, and it's Fimo Accents Translucent. No, Fimo Effects, sorry. Fimo has effects, not accents. Fimo Effects Translucent. Just making sure that everything is together. And now I'm going to cut a piece and reduce it some more so we can make something with it. Are you ready to watch it, to look at it? Let's hope that the camera is helping. So what do you think? Okay, and now we are going to reduce this a little bit. Merci, Dominique. Thank you, Deborah. Because it depends what you want to make with it, but I intend to make something that's pretty small and delicate right now. And especially I'm thinking that, you know, there's a, I don't know if you watched, was it today or yesterday, Teresa? When did Fiona Abel Smith do the cherry blossom brooch? Today or yesterday? Because she showed something on how to put the, whatchamacallit, the pin different than I do it, and I liked it better than my way. Way better than my way. Yeah, I'm not sure, but it's been very blurry because I was so busy with all kinds of stuff. But yeah, talking of which, I guess YouTube didn't find that my video was any kind of invasion of privacy. But yeah, hold on, let's hold professionalism. We can talk in other areas. So I want one of them to be this size. Yeah, let me keep a few this size, and then part of it make it smaller. So I'm going to cut another piece of this. Let's see how it reduced. Come on, camera. Doesn't wanna. There you go. And let's get the smaller piece and reduce it some more. Now, when we go to smaller pieces, come on. Come on. Now it got stuck on close. Come on. There we go. When it comes to smaller pieces, hold here and press like this, turn, hold, press. Don't press while you turn. Because if you press while you turn, you're going again to twist it. Oh, merci. Merci beaucoup, Dominique. So we slowly do this. From time to time, you'll see how it starts staying behind the middle. you want to press a little bit more in the center and continue pressing in the center. But as I said before, don't forget that you can always tell the clay get back to where you belong. Actually, let me cut this deformed end. It's almost cut properly. And then you can go like this a little bit, but you can always tell it to go back where it belongs. Oops. And don't drop the acrylic block. So you can be sure that you keep all your lines accurate. And don't press too hard when you use the acrylic block. Now I said that I was going to let it rest a little bit and I didn't. Let me rest it a little bit and let's make a little flower actually. So we have the ends of the initial log, right? Let me get a thing to put it on. The flower when it's done, that is. No, this is souffle, but I don't think it really matters. And the tiny cutter. And now, do I want it this big? I don't know. I kind of don't like to make flowers that are not miniature but not full. Remember, this was a slice. So if you want to reduce a slice, that's exactly the same thing that you do. As I was saying, I like to do the flowers either miniature or full natural size. I don't like the in-between for some reason. I have no idea why. But if you remember how I showed you in that little tutorial with the rose gold brooch, how to flatten nicely petals, we will do the same thing. Let me find that. This should work. So let's cut some really thin slices here. So we need 5. Okay. Now remember, normally it should be, these petals should be without those shadowy things. So what I'm going to do is just to place the shadowy things underneath. So let's get our petal nice and round. First, we don't want to make it as concave as the one on the rose, because this is not going to wrap like a rose does. So we want to, especially in the top of the petal, I just want to pretty much shape it a little bit, but not round it too much, except for the part that will come overlapping over the other one. So grab a smaller end ball stylus and just go a little bit like this to create a little bit of tendency of the petal to go like this. And let's do another one the same way. Just remember to, on these ones, if you do with this slices from the main log, just remember to do the same side, because these ones are not symmetrical. They are from the log for the cane. And then actually I can do it with the same ball stylus. So don't start with one side being nice and with the lighter side on the left and the other petal being with the lighter side on the right. You want both of them to be the same. I mean, all the petals to be in the same direction. And now let me show you a little secret that I do sometimes. Oh, especially after I worked with clay for a while and my fingers might get sticky, just put a bit of Armorol on them. Because now hand screen won't work. They will still be sticky. So let me remove my eyeglasses so I can see what I'm doing. So grab an even smaller, sorry. And the same as you start, if you remember with the rose, place the first one gently and delicately and press on the part that will stay down, not on the part that will be overlapped. Okay? Then grab the next one. Now what you have to keep in mind, and you actually should do this before putting on the first one, is that you'll need 5 petals, right? All at the same angle. So kind of draw your little 5 thing. So you place them all where they should be placed, not one more like this and one more like this. So my next one should be here. And again, press down the part that's going to stay down. I actually did them backwards because they overlap like this, not counterclockwise, but you get the idea. Come on, stay there. Because this area will be covered by the next petal. Now here, at the very last, exactly like with the rose, lift a little bit the first petal and insert the last one a little underneath it. And press right under that other petal. And then bring it gently back. Now what you want to do is to create that natural, a little bit of a natural crease in the petal. And for this you want a thicker thing, but not really a ball stylus. So I'm going to use the thickest pearl and edge. And just and now gently go over them so they wouldn't be too ruffled up. And the last thing that you want to do, grab again the ball stylus and make a little blob. The blob should be a little bit darker side. I'm trying to find the, there we go, a piece of my dark translucent. So make a little darker blob. Gently press right in the middle. But the blob has to be very tiny. Really, really tiny. And then gently try to convince the blob to get off your finger. And place it there. And there we go. Only that I told you, I did it backwards. It has to go overlapping the other way. The armor roll, this protectant silicone. So something like this. It's, as I said, I'm a little, and you know, I'm starting to get a little tired, but I still want to finish it. So, but this is the way that you do it. This is not a perfect Hawaiian plumeria, but this is how you do it. Come on, camera, come on. Sometimes it wants to go so close focus, and sometimes it just doesn't want to. Well, I'll try later again. But remember, you don't want it, see, right now I still didn't flatten it enough. It's still a tad too ruffled. So you want to tame it a little bit. It should be about like this, not too ruffled up. There you go. So something like this, the way that the petals are overlapping. Now, let's try and get back to this one, and we won't be much longer now, but I absolutely want you to see how to do something with it. And I'll put a short video with the final result, of course, later, as I usually do, because I'm not going to jump on another live to show you. I mean, I might be, but not on a long one, just to show you the result. I prefer to just tape it if possible, because then, you know, I can focus the camera. So there we go. Tiny, tiny. Should we leave this the smallest one? Yeah, let's leave the smallest one like this. Now, for the next thing, we are going to prepare a brooch. Okay. And the back will be the same that Fiona Abel Smith showed, even if I won't do it on the live. Sorry, I'm just grabbing something. And we are going to use some of that crappy Premo, because that's good for this. It works just fine for this. And we'll place some flakes on it. And I'm going to work with plain silver. Because the flower is so pretty and so delicate, we don't want to overshadow it with too much glitz stuff, but we still want it to look very elegant, right? So this is one of the indigo blues flakes, but you can use whatever. I just prefer to use the flakes when it's a smaller surface, because it's a pain to open the big booklet and then start chasing. And the indigo blue really has mega flakes, so it's fairly handy. Now, if you do, this is especially very important if you do a more colorful frangipani, because the pink ones are super colorful, so I wouldn't put them on any kind of background that would be very colorful, because it would pretty much smother. You'll just see a blur of color without being able to do anything. And remember what I've been saying all along: when you don't know what color to use, whenever in doubt, use either black or white. That's valid for pretty much everything. And if you want something to look elegant, always less is more. So I got this. Now let me grab a piece of wax paper. And let us very, very gently remove the extra silver thingy. Put this aside. And on the wax paper, let's put some slices. So I'm using the thin blade. It is still very fresh, so it's kind of hard to cut a slice without flattening. Now see, this one has cooled off, so it's much easier to slice without. But what I'm going to do might sound like sacrilege to some of you, but you can do this. Remember when I keep saying that, no, it's not a good idea to mix anything in Pardo, and that is absolutely, totally, 1000% true. But, hold on, I need to get something from here, and it's a lot of stuff. I'll get to it. Sorry. Somewhere here I had a piece of Pardo translucent. As what I wanted to say is that, yeah, it's true, but it doesn't mean that you cannot overlap them. Because I was going to put a piece of Pardo translucent because I don't have a lot of the, whatchamacallit, Fimo, but maybe I do. Let me see. Let me see what's happening here. Nah, I'm not sure if it doesn't have white. Hold on. Yes. Sorry, I moved a lot of stuff around when I put the laptop here. No, this is not a pure translucent. You know what? I can get a slice of Premo after all. Now, I am going to place some translucent here. And then we are going to work backwards. Because if you want to be able to sand and buff, and see, I'm going to have a few air bubbles here. So let me break them. If you gently pull, you'll break most of the placking. Because I didn't do the special going through the pasta machine on this one. I want to finish because I know I'm going to start hurting soon. So I want to finish this and get it ready for the oven. So first place a piece of translucent. Now I placed Premo because I'm completely out of the Fimo. I think, I mean, except for that, except for this. And this has too much gray in it. So place a piece of translucent. Then think that you're working backwards. If I want this, and then I want one of the smaller flowers to overlap it a little bit. And another thing you have to be very careful about, remember that when we put the shadows on the cane, we assume that the sun comes from a specific direction. Now you'll have to place your slices so the shadows will be all, you know, the shadowy part of the flower. Oh, hi, Soile. The shadowy part of the flower will be on all slices in the same direction. Okay? Not on one, the sun will come from the right, and on the other one, the sun will come from the left. We don't want that to happen. I have one more here that's really, really thin. And it's got the shadow, so I have shadow that way. Shadow that way. That way. So I'm going to want one of the small ones to overlap a larger one. So I'm going to put the small one first. Then with a lot of attention that my shadows are all the same, I'm going to place the large one here. And then I'm going to place this one coming from behind the large one. Then a large one in the front. And again, great care for all of them to face the same way. Then a smaller one, slightly behind the large one. And then you can make them even smaller and make them disappear in the distance, you know. Now, as you can see, we have a fairly decent piling up, right? This would look like crap. Now comes the most important part, and my sponsors know that I become obsessive with all the time repeating that in a lot of these things, the most important thing is a proper burnishing, a proper flattening and burnishing. If you want to have beautiful results, what you need to do is to gently burnish. Don't start with rolling in all directions on this. You don't want any kind of deformation in this. You do rolling whenever you want deformation, and I explained that in some of the sponsored tutorials, but Here you just want plain flattening and burnishing. So you can flatten a little bit and go, you know, with circular motions, and always release the clay. Every time you do another move, release the clay. And then just gently burnish until you get them almost flat. That's when you can start working with the roller. But yeah, as Carol is just telling you, that is the difference between an absolutely fabulous looking piece and something that you can tell it's done by a beginner or intermediate person. That's the sign of the mastership. Think just about the Carol Blackburn's bracelets or Sandra McCaw's things. Think how beautifully they are, perfectly flat with absolutely no. And see, it is much easier to burnish canes into a color. If you have slices of canes that you have wrapped in a color because you wanted to put them on a specific color, I suggest that you start with that, because translucent on translucent, that is really hard. I suggest you start first with flower wrapped in a color and place it on that specific color to do something. And then do something small. When you start working with the translucent, do something small. And first place one slice on translucent and burnish it until you cannot see a difference anymore. Then place two, kind of like half overlapping, and do the same thing. And slowly, I told you, it's just a matter of patience. It's not a lot of, see how it's already, it's almost flat, but we still need to go some. And it will be visible because there are two different colors of two different brands of translucent with different translucency levels. But yeah, if I had more female translucent, it would have been much better, but I don't. So, oh well. Okay, and at this point, because they are almost flat, at this point I can afford to do the roller because it cannot be a lot of deformation. But when it's flat, thicker, and you start rolling it, then you'll push the top over the rest, which will give very weird effects. Some of them might be pretty, but most of them, I mean, it depends a lot on what exactly you're trying to do. But the best thing is to just go first with the acrylic burnishing. If you want your cane slices to be nice and pretty and not showing a lot of distortion, that's what you should do. And see, I went back to the acrylic. It's almost there. I still have a little bit on this side. I need to clean this. And when you use the roller, don't press. Oops, that's so nasty. Don't press. You just very, very lightly, very, 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 very lightly. And you don't want to start pushing the clay sideways. What you're trying to do is to push the clay downwards. Okay, now it should be relatively okay. There's not a lot of stuff going on. And now what we are going to do, we are going to place this on this. But actually I'm not going to place this on this. I'm going to place this on this. So okay, just a pinch of rolling, because what we want now is just to get the two pieces stuck together. And this time we are going to release the top, not the bottom, with a lot of care, because that Premo, the base translucent was very, very thin, and we don't want it to break at all corners. Because what we are going to do now is to obtain a very, very gentle cracking of the silver foil. And now we can slightly press and push and pull. They are well stuck together, and gently get your flowers perfectly the way you want them. And now we can cut our brooch. I'm going to do it round, but I changed my mind. There. And now we can place this on a baking base that I need to bring just a second. This might be too domed, actually. Yeah, I guess I'm going to use a huge baking base just for a little itty bitty thing here. But oh well, you know. I'm going to use this. Now, thinking about, remember how I tell you a lot of times, don't worry about the edges because you can do the beveling with sanding. Yeah, but here you don't want to do a beveling with sanding, because if you bevel with sanding, you're going to expose the silver foil underneath. So here you actually do need to very, very gently pull the top translucent a little bit over the border if you want to put this in any kind of bezel, or you can even leave it like this. I would honestly leave it like this because it's too delicate. I wouldn't put it in any kind of bezel because it's got enough sparkly underneath. So at most, I don't know, I would do something on one side only with some kind of wire and pearls, tiny pearls, something. And I wanted to round it here. I decided I wanted to round it here. Make a nice dome. On all three sides. Sorry, I'm trying to get this under the, but the baking base is so huge. Okay, and now we can do a little bit of trimming here. Hi, Sherry. Sorry, I didn't watch the chat for a while. Make sure you're nice and smooth all over. And we are good to bake. Okay, let me try and get the camera to focus. But yeah, pretty much. So I will bake this, and as I said later, I will post how it looks like. And I told you, watch Fiona Abel-Smith's brooch thing. It's a different way of attaching the pin in the back. And there we go with the three, not perfectly cut, three sizes of the Hawaiian plumeria. So thank you for being here with me, and I've been on, gosh, for almost 2 hours now. So I'll post how this looks like, and I'm looking forward to post the other tutorial, and I'll have to redo that one that I told you. And wish me luck with the hard drive. Have a wonderful weekend. And no, there's no live tomorrow. I'll be trying to work on tutorials. Thank you. Merci à tout le monde. Je vais la finir ce soir, Dominique. Je promets. Yeah, I will finish this tonight. I promise. I will post the finished stuff tonight. Okay. It will stay. Yeah, it will stay. So you will watch. You'll be able to watch both part 1 and part 2. So thank you, and have a wonderful weekend. Happy claying.